Joseph Leland Johnson, black physiologist and physician. Born 1895, died 1991. Joseph Leland Johnson was the second African American to earn both a PhD and an MD degree. Although his parents had been born into slavery in North Carolina, Johnson was able to secure an education and eventually became dean of the Howard University Medical School and chairman of its Department of Physiology. It was through his efforts that this department became a fully modernized place of research. Johnson was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on January 14th, 1895. His parents had moved there from North Carolina and eventually had 14 children. Johnson was the youngest of the 10 that survived infancy. His father was a laborer who died when Johnson was 2, and his mother supported the family as a midwife. Although the 10-year-old Johnson was so interested in the law that he would regularly cut school to attend trials at City Hall, he took the advice of his high school principal and applied for a scholarship in agronomy at Pennsylvania State University. Quote, "I knew I first had to get to college if I wanted to study law," unquote. Johnson recalled later in an interview with Alan B. Weiss in Conversations in Medicine, quote, "And this was the first step," unquote. Upon admission, Johnson found himself to be the only black in the entire campus. His education was interrupted by World War I, and when Johnson discovered there were no officer training camps available to him, as there were for his white classmates, he wrote directly to the Secretary of War. The Secretary responded that a special camp was being formed at Fort Des Moines, Iowa. Johnson joined up, was commissioned second lieutenant, and was assigned to the 350th Field Artillery at Fort Dix, New Jersey. After being honorably discharged in January of 1919, he returned to Penn State and received his Bachelor's of Science degree in June of that year. That autumn, Johnson began teaching at the Kansas Vocational and Industrial Institute in Topeka, Kansas, where he also was an assistant coach of the men's basketball team, as well as coach of the women's basketball team. The next year, he moved to Kansas City to teach general science and zoology at Lincoln High School. It was while attending a summer education course at the University of Chicago that Johnson first became interested in medicine as a way of helping the people of his poor Kansas City neighborhood called West Bottoms. Quote, "I got the feeling that those people were not getting the medical care that they should have because they couldn't afford it," unquote. Johnson explained to Weiss, quote, "The idea struck me that I would go away and prepare myself thoroughly in medicine, and then come back to Kansas City and serve the people in the West Bottoms," unquote. With the help of the Lincoln High School principal, who secured the backing of a wealthy friend, Johnson was able to resign from teaching and to dedicate himself to medical school. By 1931, Johnson had earned his combined MD and PhD degree in medicine and physiology at the University of Chicago. He was offered a physiology professorship at Howard University in Washington, D.C. by Dr. Numa P.G. Adams, who had just become the first black dean of its medical school. Johnson accepted the offer, and it was under his guidance and direction that Howard's physiology department was completely revamped, renovated, and redirected into a modern facility where meaningful research could take place. When Dr. Adams died suddenly in 1940, Johnson became acting dean of Howard's Medical School. In 1947, he became dean and remained in that position until 1955, when he returned to full-time teaching and research in physiology. He retired in 1971. Johnson was a member of the board of directors of the National Medical Association and a member of the Medico-Chirurgical Society of the District of Columbia. He also held memberships in the AAAS, the NAACP, the AMA, Foundation for Tropical Medicine, International College of Surgeons, Walter Reed Society, American Physiology Society, and was a fellow of the New York Academy of Sciences. He was a member of the Honorary Medical Society Alpha Omega Alpha and Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. He also served as the 1960 to 1961 Imhotep Conference chairman. Johnson died of cancer in Silver Spring, Maryland in 1991. Citations are in the description.